The storm came down hard that night, drumming against the darkened highway. Alexandra Pierce, CEO of a global tech empire, sat helpless in her sleek sports car, steam hissing from the hood. The engine had given out, and her phone battery was dead. For the first time in years, she wasn't in control. Then came the knock. A man in a worn jacket leaned down, rain dripping from his cap. "Car trouble?" he asked, voice calm, steady. Alexandra hesitated. Most people recognized her face from magazines, but this man didn't seem to care who she was. He just looked at her with quiet concern. I think it overheated," she admitted. He nodded, popped the hood, and worked with practiced ease. His hands were rough, steady hands, not the soft grip of her boardroom peers. Within minutes, he had the car breathing again, though not enough to drive far. "You'll need a proper fix tomorrow," he said, "but you can't stay out here in this storm. My place is up the road. Small, but warm." She should have declined. CEOs didn't just follow strangers into the night, but something in his voice, genuine, protective, unshaken, made her trust him. At his cabin, she was met with crackling firelight, the smell of coffee, and the simplicity of a man who asked for nothing in return. He offered her dry clothes, a blanket, and even gave up his bed for the couch. For the first time in years, Alexandra felt human. No bodyguards, no board meetings, no investors. Just a man who treated her not like a billionaire, but like a woman stranded in a storm. They talked deep into the night. He told her about his life raising his niece after his sister passed, working odd jobs, fixing cars to make ends meet. He had no interest in power or wealth, but his every word carried integrity. By dawn, the storm had cleared. She stood at the window watching the sunrise burn across the horizon, and realized something she hadn't felt in years. Her heart was light. When she turned, he was there, pouring her coffee, with that same quiet smile, and that was the moment. Alexandra Pierce, CEO, billionaire, untouchable to the world, knew she had fallen for the man who had nothing, yet gave her everything that mattered. The rain poured down like the sky itself was breaking. Alexandra Pierce tightened her grip on the steering wheel of her low-slung sports car, her eyes narrowing as she searched the dark, winding road for any sign of light. She'd left her Manhattan boardroom behind only hours earlier, determined to spend the weekend at her secluded vacation home upstate. A chance to breathe, a chance to escape the endless phone calls, contracts, and investors tugging at her every move. But now, here she was stranded. Her car had coughed, sputtered, and finally died. Steam hissed from the hood, and the only sound beyond that was the relentless drumming of rain. She cursed under her breath and reached for her phone. Dead, of course. She leaned back in her seat and exhaled. Alexandra Pierce, CEO of Pierce Technologies, the woman whose signature alone could change global markets, was utterly powerless on a deserted road in the middle of nowhere. That's when she heard it. A soft crunch of boots on gravel. Her heart jumped. She locked the doors instinctively, peering through the fogged-up glass. A tall figure in a rain jacket and worn baseball cap approached, a flashlight cutting through the downpour. He stopped by her window, raised a hand in a polite knock. "Car trouble." His voice was calm, deep, reassuring. She hesitated, but cracked the window just enough. It overheated. "I don't know what to do." The stranger nodded, water dripping from his cap. "Pop the hood. Let me take a look." Something in his steady tone made her do it. He lifted the hood, flashlight in one hand, the other moving with practiced ease. His hands rough, calloused, moved confidently over the engine. Alexandra watched, silently surprised. "Thermostat's stuck," he said after a moment. "Not too bad. I can patch it enough to get you off the road, but you'll need a proper fix tomorrow." She let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Thank you, really." He gave a small shrug. No trouble, but his eyes flicked toward the dark stretch of road behind them. You can't drive far tonight. Storm's only getting worse. My cabin's about a mile from here. Nothing fancy, but it's warm and dry. Every instinct told her this was insane. CEOs didn't follow strangers to isolated cabins. But her instincts also told her something else. This man didn't want anything from her. Not her money, not her status. He just wanted to make sure she was safe. Against all logic, Alexandra found herself nodding. Okay. His truck was old but solid, and soon she was sitting in the passenger seat, staring out at the storm while he drove in silence. The world blurred by in gray and silver. When they reached the cabin, it was small but inviting, a wooden porch. Smoke curling from a chimney, light glowing warmly from the windows. Inside, a fire crackled in the stone hearth, and the smell of coffee drifted through the air. Here, he said, handing her a towel. You can dry off. I'll get you something warm. She accepted, still dazed. The CEO who commanded boardrooms and luxury hotels was now standing in a stranger's cabin, dripping rainwater on his wooden floor. You live here alone? She asked. He nodded, setting 2 mugs on the table. With my niece. She's at a friend's house tonight. I work odd jobs around town, fix cars, repair engines, that kind of thing. Alexandra sat, wrapping her hands around the warm mug. So, you're a mechanic? He smiled faintly. Among other things. For the first time in years, someone was looking at her not as a CEO, not as a billionaire, but simply as a woman stranded in a storm. They talked for hours. He told her about his niece, how he'd been raising her since his sister passed away, how he liked the quiet life, away from the noise of the city. She, in turn, admitted things she hadn't told anyone in years, that her success often felt empty, that she longed for something real, something grounded. By the time the fire burned low, Alexandra realized she felt safe, truly safe. He offered her his bed, insisting he'd take the couch. She argued, but he wouldn't hear it. You're my guest. That's final. And as she lay there, listening to the storm fade outside, her heart stirred in a way it hadn't in years. Morning came, with sunlight spilling through the windows. Alexandra stood by the porch, watching the world glisten with dew. She should have felt out of place here, but instead, she felt at home. Behind her he appeared with 2 mugs of coffee. No words, just that quiet smile again. And in that moment, Alexandra Pierce, CEO, billionaire, untouchable to the world, realized she had fallen in love with the man who had nothing, yet gave her everything that mattered.